Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.
%50 of water systems in Louisiana are between 30 and 50 years old.
The threat to small-town water supplies.
I've done it when I didn't have any help, and I've done it when I had nothing but naysayers around me.
How Perseverance Plus built a champion.
Every single one of us is here today because we love this state.
Legislators have another chance to compromise.
Hi, everyone. I'm Andre Morrow. More on those stories in a moment. But first on SWI, the state we're in, tributes are flowing following the death Thursday of sports franchise and car dealership tycoon Tom Benson.
Benson is credited with saving the Saints franchise from relocating and bringing a Super Bowl championship and the Benson Boogie to the Big Easy. He then bought a second pro franchise in his hometown, the NBA New Orleans Pelicans. But he's being remembered as so much more than a billionaire businessman. Mayor-elect LaToya Cantrell said, "Thank you, Mr. Benson, for loving our city so fiercely." His wife, Gail Benson, is set to take over control of the Saints and Pelicans in what's being called a seamless transition. A second-line march to the Superdome honored Mr. B, who was 90 years old.
On Wednesday came an announcement from Secretary of State Tom Shedler. He told media he will fight a lawsuit claiming he sexually harassed one of his employees, will remain in office and finish his term, but will not run for re-election next year.
The cry for my resignation has come from some politicians and from some editorial pages. I don't, everybody's got a job to do. I've been doing this decades. That all have publicly suggested that I resign. Staying's not going to be easy. I'm not so naive to think that staying here is going to be an easy task for me. But leaving would be cowardly. And Tom Shedler is not a coward. The issue of cyber attacks, we've been very fortunate here in Louisiana that hasn't occurred, but to be quite honest with you, it's a real threat. I've been very active, as you know, with congressional testimony and active with national groups, continue to be so, just up until several weeks ago, and we'll continue that fight. I cannot, in good conscience, leave this group and put this place into more chaos at this point in time. I cannot do it. We'll throw this organization into total chaos because I've been targeted in an unfair lawsuit. I'm sorry to my family, to their staff, and to all the loved ones and people who love me, that I've loved and still love, for how disappointing this is, even with the allegations. But just remember, there's some truth to the middle. I'm going to leave God to judge me right or wrong, and I'll let him guide me of what my future may be after I've finished here with the job I have in front of me.
Shedler did not take questions following his statement and says he won't address the lawsuit moving forward. Here now is a look at some of the week's other headlines.
ExxonMobil is considering a multi-billion-dollar plan that would double U.S. oil refining capacity along the Gulf Coast and could boost refining capacity at the Baton Rouge plant. The Reuters report says the oil giant's refinery in Beaumont would become the largest in the nation, and products made there would supply Baton Rouge and Baytown refineries, reducing costs from third-party purchases. The expansion, if executed, would add to the $200 million the company has spent to expand its chemical and lubricants complex. In 2017, the company's investments at its 5 facilities in the capital region totaled $340 million. A new poll shows many Louisianans are unhappy with the direction of the state, believe elected officials don't care what they think, and have little confidence that state leaders will work together to solve our problems. The data from LSU's Public Policy Research Lab finds most people do not trust state government in general. The survey also reveals that most believe political parties will choose to bicker and oppose each other, even if it keeps them from solving the state's problems. The state Supreme Court has ruled that charter schools may continue to earn public funding on a per-student allocation from state and local governments, just as public schools in parish systems do. At risk in the lawsuit was funding for about 18,000 students who attend 35 schools organized outside of parish systems with approval from the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education, or BESE. The decision came down to the legal definition of what is a public school.
A grand jury Thursday indicted 4 members of the LSU fraternity Phi Delta Theta in the hazing-related death of 18-year-old Max Groover. 20-year-old Matthew Knockout is charged with negligent homicide. That's a felony charge that could mean up to 5 years in prison. 3 other former students are accused of hazing, a misdemeanor charge. Lawmakers are back at it. On Monday, Governor John Bel Edwards addressed members of the House and Senate to ring in the regular session of the legislature, and LPB's Kelly Spires was there. Kelly?
Andre, fixing the billion-dollar hole in the budget is still at the top of the priority list, but lawmakers can't debate tax measures in even-numbered years. That doesn't mean there's nothing they can do to improve the state in the meantime. Edwards outlined a legislative package that includes regulatory relief for small businesses, items to improve the health of mothers and babies, and measures that aim to lift people out of poverty.
Despite the lack of action during the legislative session, we really have so much to be optimistic about in our state. We should be excited about what lies ahead in Louisiana if only we can move beyond the problems of the past.
Governor John Bel Edwards again took to the well of the House chamber to outline his legislative priorities and set the tone for the coming session. First, he touched on his administration's accomplishments in its first 2 years. He pointed to transportation infrastructure developments.
The widening of I-10 from the Mississippi River Bridge to the I-10-12 split, a new interchange. Yeah, that's worthy of some applause.
He cited economic development wins.
We landed 43 new projects, totaling $4.6 billion in capital investment in parishes all across the state of Louisiana.
And he touted improved health outcomes due to Medicaid expansion and policy changes regarding opioid prescriptions.
We reduced the number of opioid prescriptions last year by 15%. And for Medicaid patients, there's been a 40% decrease in the amount of opioids prescribed since the first month of expansion in July 2016.
Edwards says his legislative agenda builds on that momentum.
Soliciting ideas from all across the state, the business community, small business owners, seniors, students, parents, and law enforcement. The legislative agenda I am proposing to you today is as bold and diverse as the people of our great state.
But compared to past legislative goals, like reforming the criminal justice system, this year the lift is lighter. First, he wants lawmakers to ease regulations regarding small businesses.
We are cutting through the red tape and giving small businesses regulatory relief that costs them money and that are overly burdensome. Louisiana ranks as the 6th worst in the nation for convoluted occupational licensing requirements. We can fix that.
House Bill 562 by Representative Julie Emerson, a Republican from Carencro, would establish a process to review licensing regulations. House Bill 561, also by Emerson, would repeal the requirement for florists to be licensed. Louisiana is the only state that requires that certification. Additionally, Edwards wants to cut down the number of licenses required by hunters and fishermen. That bill would be carried by Representative Jerome Zerang of Houma.
Let's make it easier for families to get out and enjoy the natural beauty Louisiana has to offer. This is the sportsman's paradise, after all.
House Bill 591 by New Orleans Democrat Walt Leger would start a council to advise Louisiana economic development and the governor on small business issues. Edwards also wants to make it easier for the spouses and children of military families to get licensing when they are stationed in Louisiana.
And I know personally how difficult it is to uproot your family and move every few years when you serve in the military. So we want to make it easier for military families who come to Louisiana to get the licensing they need to seamlessly continue their careers here.
Senate Bills 198, 202, and 203 by Bossier City Republican Barrow Peacock, along with House Bill 150 by Ville Platte Democrat Bernard Labat, provide relief for out-of-state EMS workers, nurses, physical therapists, and pharmacists. Lifting Louisianians out of poverty has also been one of Edwards' perennial concerns.
Louisiana has the second highest poverty rate in the country and the third highest child poverty rate. I'm committed to doing everything in my power to change that narrative, which is why we will be coordinating a strategic effort among state departments with the Moving Families from Poverty to Empowerment Strategic Plan.
That plan is contained in Senate Bill 455 by Senator Regina Barrow. It would help state departments work together across programs. Edwards will again revisit his push to institute a state minimum wage and ensure women and men are paid equally.
Everyone in this room and listening wherever you are should be offended that a woman makes only 66 cents for every dollar a man makes. She doesn't get charged less when she goes to buy groceries for her family, and she shouldn't get paid any less when she works the same job as a man.
Other bills would champion women by combating sexual harassment and doing more to reduce the rate at which Louisiana mothers die in childbirth. Another bill would establish a program for newborns and new mothers withdrawing from opiates.
We must confront the horrific reality that more women die during pregnancy and childbirth in Louisiana than just about anywhere else in the country. It's 2018. Women should not be dying at such an alarming rate because of childbirth.
Edwards would like lawmakers to accomplish all this and more on an expedited schedule so that session can adjourn early. That way, lawmakers could then discuss the budget shortfall without the state having to spend more money, almost $60,000 a day, on a special session.
Every single one of us is here today because we love this state. We love its people. And that love is what brings us back, session after session, year after year, and work towards solutions for the problems that we face and to get the prosperity that we know that is within our reach.
Lawmakers already started debate on some of those bills to meet that advanced deadline, though leaders of the House and Senate haven't yet agreed on a date to adjourn. Bills to increase the minimum wage and further equal pay for women won initial approval from a Senate committee, but they still have a long way to go before reaching the governor's desk to be signed into law.
All right, Kelly, thank you so much. And of course, we'll keep you up to date on what's happening at the Capitol. Kelly certainly will, each week on this program. The drinking water emergency in one small Louisiana town has ended with a new water treatment facility coming online in St. Joe in Tensas Parish. Population 1,000. For years, discolored water came out of the tap. When high levels of lead were found, the work began to replace it. Now, the Louisiana Department of Health administers the Safe Drinking Water Program in the state. Dr. Jimmy Guidry, State Health Officer, is here with us. Dr. Guidry, finally some relief in St. Joe after years of discolored water and third world conditions there. But you have to wonder, their problem solved now, but you must worry about the next St. Joe in a small Louisiana town.
We work with a lot of water systems. 1,350 water systems around the state. Some are real small. Yeah. And when you're working with that many systems, we have to monitor and work with them to make sure they're doing their job to protect the public's health. And knowing that probably 50% of water systems in Louisiana are between 30 and 50 years old, they're all going to be getting in trouble if they're not maintained. So while we're working with them to make sure that the water's safe to drink, we're also trying to work with them to make sure that they're maintaining their infrastructure.
How do you help make sure that they are maintaining that when ultimately you're urging them to, but that's not your job per se to maintain it?
When we see that some of the tests that we run, whether it's coliform to look for bacteria or chemicals, when we see that there's some problems with their water, then we dig in with them and say, why are these problems existing? What are you doing to address them? And then we can also look to see, well, are you losing a lot of water? Is your infrastructure still working? Is your treatment plant still working? We do the best we can, but it is their responsibility to address those things. We do have ways of helping them address those things. We have revolving loan fund with low interest, but people are not charging enough to do this, that the rates aren't high enough in some systems, there's not enough customers in small systems. So trying to figure out as time goes on and these things are breaking down, where does the money come from and how do people maintain these systems? It takes the water systems and us trying to figure out these are complex issues and they're not easy answers.
They test themselves, but do you also test independently of what they're testing, or do each sort of work with each other?
We work with each other, but we also come behind them and do tests. Now, when it comes to bacteria, they do it more frequently. We'll do it once a month and look at it. When you look at chemicals, we do all that testing, and it's every 3 years, unless they're having issues, then it's more frequently. So depending on what the results show determines whether we're going to do more of the testing and how much more testing, or we're going to require them to do more testing, and it really depends on those results.
When you're talking about people's health and something as seemingly basic as drinking water and safe drinking water, what keeps you up at night about this problem?
The fact that people see water color change or taste change, and that gets their attention, and that can be for a lot of different reasons. There can be pipes that are broken and are being repaired. It can be that the source of water is putting iron in it and changes the color, and that's really not a health risk, but certainly people don't want to drink brown water. They don't see the things that could really affect their health, which is actually whether there are bacteria in the water, which they won't see, or whether there are chemicals in the water that it might be colorless. So measuring these things and making sure that people don't get exposed to something unnecessarily, it's the work of the water system, but I have to make sure that operator is trained and has the proper training, and they have to pay attention to making sure the chemicals are mixed correctly, making sure the pipes are repaired. It's just a lot of moving parts.
Is that something that is ongoing, the testing? Because if you don't notice the discoloration, do people get sick first and then they test, or perhaps the testing is so continuous that they're aware that there's something gone wrong with the system?
We're not aware that people get sick from drinking water in great numbers, which means that we are doing a decent job.
Yeah.
But it's getting harder to do that decent job because of the aging infrastructure. So what we're seeing is that if people pay attention to the messages, if there's a boil water advisory, pipes broken and maybe contamination has occurred, we don't know, boil your water so that you're not exposed. So if people heed the advice and the advisories, that helps protect their health. If we make sure, and water companies are paying attention to the chemicals and the results, that protects health. But when pipes keep breaking, that's a risk.
What would be a solution for this?
Certainly,
to help small towns that are not maybe that close to each other, but if there could be a consortium perhaps of a water supply.
It's important that the customers understand that the water system needs to answer to them. They're paying the water system to deliver that water. So if they see something, reporting it is important, because the water system may not be aware. You lost pressure, the water changed color, the taste changed. Hey, call your water system so they know that something's happening. Have them explain to you why that has occurred. So it's kind of like having sentinels out in the system who are seeing things and reporting things and then trying to figure out why did that occur. So that's an important piece. Having people on these boards and people that run these water companies take it very seriously, and having operators that understand the science to make sure that we're mixing chemicals properly and addressing this maintenance issues. All of that is critical to protecting health. So prevention, just like with your body, if we can prevent these things from occurring, it's better than having to deal with it once we have somebody getting sick.
It sounds like a 24-hour-a-day job for you. We appreciate you talking with us and bringing us up to speed on what's happening in the state.
I appreciate you having me here and share this information.
All right, Dr. Guidry, thank you so much. The honors and championships keep coming for LSU gymnastics coach D-D Breaux. She is the reason the gymnastics program at LSU is what it is, the SEC's best and a national title away from being best in America. In fact, a national title is the only championship that has eluded her so far, but the season isn't over yet. Her current team has already won the SEC championship, and they're currently number 2 in America. The energetic D-D has led LSU for more than 4 decades.
One good full set, first pass there, last pass there, middle pass here. Okay.
D-D Breaux is the only coach LSU women's gymnastics has ever known. 1978 was her first team.
Head in. Good. Oh, we knew. Everybody in here knew you could do it right.
D-D and the legendary Adolph Rupp of Kentucky basketball fame are the 2 longest tenured coaches in SEC history. If she coaches one more year, she will hold that record all by herself.
Over there.
She has a forever young vibe and says where she gets it is simple.
Girl. I'm surrounded by kids that come in at 17 and they live at 21, leave at 21, and then the next I got another 17-year-old that comes in. And so it's that constant revolving door of the same age group. And my staff and I feel the same way. I mean, we really enjoy being with our team. We enjoy being with each other. And, you know, nothing's better than this. Nothing's better than being the gymnastics coach at LSU.
LSU Tigers for the fight!
The sellout crowds, the championships, the support. It's all happening at LSU because D-D refused to give up.
I've been the constant over the last 41 years. I've done this a long time, and look, I've done it when I didn't have any help, and I've done it when I had nothing but naysayers around me. So the fact that I can give credit to a lot of people for the uplifting support and the consistent positive messaging that has gone on around here for the past 5 to 8 years, it's a whole lot of difference now than it was in the earlier days.
Her Perseverance Plus that had to endure for so long is now reaping the benefits. This gymnastics palace, where her team practices and hangs out, was made possible, she says, because athletic director Joe Oliva believed in her mission.
The key ingredient is, you got to have the right tools, and we've been given enough money to have a really great staff, and having a good staff, and then having someone like Jay Clark, who's a great recruiter, and Bob Moore, who's a vaulting technician, and all the resources that we've been able to have now as far as our staff. And then you look at the state-of-the-art facility that Joe Oliva and Tiger Athletic Foundation, people finally started hearing and going, well, we got this great baseball stadium, and then maybe if we had a great gymnastics stadium, we could do the same kind of stuff, and it's happening. How'd it feel?
Good.
It was good middle pass, too.
Yeah, a little bit back on the double.
And this right here absorbs all of that backward stuff, but we're not doing it anymore.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right, and I may let you tumble a little bit on Friday when we're there, but maybe not.
Okay.
It just depends on what that floor is like.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds good.
Good job, baby.
Thanks, Dee Dee.
Uh-huh.
You have this enthusiasm that really is a model for all the other sports. How does that grab you?
Well, that grabs me good because nothing great's ever been achieved without enthusiasm. And I've always thought that if I didn't carry an enthusiastic message, or if I wasn't enthused coming to practice, how could my athletes be that? Or how could the people that I'm asking to care as much as I care? It's like sitting with the students in the student section at a basketball game. Why would they come to a gymnastics meet if we don't go to them?
And she does go to them. Here with volleyball coach Fran Flory, and here with Flory and the man who put LSU basketball on the map, Dale Brown.
I continue to do it over and over again because it does make a difference, and those kids feel a connection, and it's going back to that enthusiasm and trying to be a part of what's happening in my program, at LSU, in the city, and in the state of Louisiana. I just think it's a big picture. Little more arms up, a little more up out of the floor. You let your shoulders rip back. There you go, much better, baby.
This May, she'll be honored as one of LPB's legends.
Last year when they, called and said I'd been selected for the Louisiana Sports Writers Hall of Fame, I thought, well, this is it. This is the top. And then I get this phone call about being a Louisiana legend. And then I went online and looked at who all the legends were. And I'm like, am I that old? Have I done that much? and it's there's a lot of gratification there in that, and a very humbling experience.
And ever selling her product, she left us with a reminder about the final home meet of the season on St. Patrick's Day.
But it's Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and there's a baseball game right after, so we're hoping that we can get baseball people to come to gymnastics, and then gymnastics people to then go to baseball. So it'll be a great LSU event for families, because baseball's a lot like gymnastics. It's affordable. You can take the family and feed them a hot dog, come to a gymnastics meet, feed them chicken tenders, and have a great time.
What do you say, Tiger fans? Always great to talk with D-D Breaux, LSU Gymnastics coach. Well, that's our show for this week. Remember, you can watch LPB on demand on your phone or your tablet with our LPB Anywhere app. The download is free from your app store. You can catch LPB news and public affairs shows, as well as other Louisiana programs that you've come to enjoy over the years. And please like us on Facebook as well. For everyone at Louisiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Andre Morrow. Thanks for watching. Until next time, that's the state we're in.
Check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and visit lpb.org, where you can view more stories and leave us a comment. This program is available on DVD. Support comes from
Entergy provides much more than power. We support science and engineering at local schools to build a brighter path to better jobs and help prepare the next generation. Because together, we power life. Entergy.
Additional support provided by the Fred B. and Ruth B. Ziegler Foundation and the Ziegler Art Museum located in Jennings City Hall. The museum focuses on emerging Louisiana artists and is an historical and cultural center for Southwest Louisiana. And the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting, with support from viewers like you.